Pretty tough ride indeed. Pantone in yellow, Zabel in green, Massey in the polka dot, but there's more scandal on the horizon. The riders of the Tour de France stop in protest for the second time in a week. This time it's over their treatment by the French authorities, who last night raided a team hotel. Police took away members of the TVM team and forced them to have compulsory medical tests. They were finally returned to the hotel at midnight, having eaten nothing. And so the riders today at the 32nd kilometre, at the first sprint of the day at Saint-Jorioz, they protested to Jean-Marie Leblanc, and the main protagonist was Laurent Jalabert, the champion of France, who was joined in the protest by Luc Leblanc, the former world champion. Monsieur Leblanc appealed to the riders and the team directors as friends to continue on the race today. But it wasn't good enough for Laurent Jalabert. He said the riders were again being treated badly, and Jean-Marie Leblanc in fact did promise he would contact the authorities at the highest level and ask them to respect the athletes who have pedalled now 3,000 kilometres and almost 3 weeks of cycling, and to handle the investigations they want in a more dignified manner. Even so, Laurent Jalabert did pull out his Oncé team and has refused to carry on in the Tour de France.
What's also ridiculous is what the police did to TVM last night. That's not right. I mean, if that happened in America, there'd be some lawsuits and there'd be hundreds of $millions at stake, because you just can't barge into people's rooms and demand that they come to the police station and give hair samples, urine samples, blood samples, whatever they had to do in the middle of the night. That's ridiculous.
Among those riders who did restart, although very, very slowly, saying that they will continue on the race route, but it wouldn't be a race, they would do it purely to allow the public to see them, and indeed the public were cheering and clapping as they moved. Marco Pantani, the race leader, helped by a teammate, started to take off his number, and this spread throughout the peloton. The majority of riders did take off their numbers, and it was clear then they would not continue in the Tour de France today. And that was indeed the way it turned out to be. The race stopped at 32 kilometres. It stopped again a little bit further down the road, and the riders continued on. A number of teams pulling out of the race, including the Benesto team and the Oncé team, and the few riders who were actually left in the Risso-Scotti team. There were only 3. They also went out of the race. And overnight as well, other riders would retire from the race. So let's hope the Tour de France can get back to normal for the remaining few days to Paris. But for now, let's get back to nicer things. Here's Gary Imlach with a tale of a good mate of ours.
If you've ever bought a cycling magazine, you'll know the work of Graham Watson. He's one of the world's best and most respected cycling photographers. And all the way back at the start of the race in Dublin, he had a retrospective show covering nearly 2 decades of his work on the Tour.
You'd have to try and freeze moments during each day. Action, emotion, drama, tragedy. It's a very unusual sport. It's not like any other sport, as far as I know. You really are almost in the race with them. And there's no question of not being motivated. It's impossible. You know, it's just the drama, his black eyes. He had a crash a few days earlier. He's winning the Tour. He's absolutely riding at his maximum. The crowds are, cheering for him. Fignon, very different. He wasn't uncooperative, but he was very temperamental, equally dramatic in that he wears glasses, which is very unusual for a cyclist. But he was one of the most photogenic guys of his period. Roach, big smiling, happy face. He's won the Tour de France. It's like a nice portrait of him. And that's how he's best photographed in portraits. Delgado, just like a tiger. He won the Tour in '88, and to me it's one of the most exciting Tours de France. He's got this aggression in his face, this emotion, which all I can describe as a tiger on a bicycle. Le Mans, totally different guy, an absolute outrageous character sometimes. Super strong, super athlete, but equally unusually a very, very outgoing, bubbly, lively character. And this picture sums him up on the podium. Indram was my favourite, simply physically. He was a giant, and he had a dignity about him which no other cyclist I've ever seen has ever had before. He was a prince-like creature. You kind of felt you had to sort of bow to him every morning before you took his picture. There's a killer instinct in the eyes, which is unusual in a guy so quiet and placid. Reese, very different. The guy was 30-odd when he won the Tour. In that picture you see the raw edges on. He's on the very limit. and there's not much more to give. Very intense, but also very frail looking. Ulrich, phenomenal, staring straight at you. He's almost growling in this picture. It looks as though he's growling at his competitor, but he's actually completely alone, just going 100%. I've got two particular shots which I like very much. Actually, three shots. One is of Hinault and Greg LeMond in the 1986 Tour de France, and that picture kind of sums up the whole tour. It's completely false, because Hinault looks very, very good in it. It looks like he's helping Greg, but in actual fact he raced against him. The other one I like is Fignon pouring water over his feet. It's a rarity. I mean, he sat on a curbstone by the finish line, no crowd barriers anymore. Those days we probably had crowd barriers for 20 yards after the finish. And here's the champion of France, on his way to winning the Tour de France, sat down on the pavement, pouring bottles of Perrier over his feet. That would never happen now. The other one I like is of Wilfried Peters pushing a little kid along in the peloton one day about 8 years ago. This kid just crept into the peloton. He must have been 8 years old, dressed completely as a world champion with all the gear, the hat, the bicycle, everything. And these guys pushed him along. I don't see it as art. Without sounding vain, I feel like I'm performing to a small public who you know are going to buy the magazines that my stuff appears in, who may go and see the exhibition. You feel like you're performing in a very small way, and obviously you're aware that you're working with other performers who are much more important, but everybody's kind of performing, and you're aware you want to give your best.
Graham Watson today getting the kind of pictures he wouldn't really want for his portfolio, but nonetheless it is the story of a controversial Tour de France today, which is surrounded by these allegations of doping. But let's remember that nobody yet has given a positive dope test in this year's Tour de France. We're looking at the riders now as they come down towards the finish in Aix-les-Bains. It should have been the end of a very quick 149 kilometres. In fact, it couldn't be much slower than this, because at local time now it's almost 7:30 in the evening, and the TVM riders are coming through to the front. And it is because of the way the TVM riders were treated yesterday, taken into custody by police for compulsory medical checks, that the riders have performed this go slow. I think over the next 6 months it's going to have quite serious repercussions within the sport of cycling. But there's the TVM riders coming over the line, and Sergei Ivanov is the rider on the right in the Russian National Championships jersey. He must wonder what on earth has happened, because he's just joined the team and he was a very, very promising amateur rider. Eric Zabel there in the green jersey, but no points for him today in that green jersey competition. It's almost his anyway, and we've just got to hope that it gets back to normal tomorrow. The TVM riders, though, are the centre of the controversy, and of course as soon as the race finished, it was the TVM riders the press was seeking out to have words with, to find out just how they felt about all of the proceedings.
I think the whole peloton was won today, and yeah, I hope things are going to change now.
How angry are the riders?
I think they are very angry, yeah? Because we all treated like criminals, and with all the press and everything around us, the police, and yeah, we're not getting a decent. They're not handling decent with us, and so it's not good what is happening now.
But the unhappy events continued, and later that evening, after a Spanish radio phone-in, the two remaining Spanish teams pulled out, Kelme and Vitalico. It meant that fourth place Fernando Escartin was gone as well. It got even worse as Frenchman Luc Leblanc said he would not continue, while police detained the King of the Mountains leader Rodolfo Massi on suspicion of drug trafficking. He was kept in custody, and next morning was also missing from the field, which was now down to 103. Massi's casino team were persuaded to continue despite their low morale, and the 218 kilometres from Aix-les-Bains to Neuchâtel in Switzerland was run off at a very quick pace. As they came towards the finish, a group of 45 was battling for the win. Well, this is a perfect launching pad for Zabel. The telecoms are all there now as they all start to go for the line. Surely they will move away. Robin McEwen trying to get through with Leon Van Bon. But watch out for the green jersey of Zabel, because Steels has gone over to our left now as they come up towards the line. Tom Steels and Zabel shoulder to shoulder. Zabel's got the lead now. Up towards the line. Eric Zabel and Tom Steels shoulder to shoulder. It's going to be definitely go. Steels gets it, I think. I think it was Tom Steele's on the line. 3 for him, I think, but that's gone to the photo. Let's have a look here now. And in fact, a Mappe rider pulled his foot off the pedal. That unsettled everybody as they launched for the line. Zabel went to the far right. It took Steele a little bit longer to get himself going here, and he dived across to grab the wheel of Erik Zabel. And again, Zabel seems to have led out a little bit too soon and starts to run out of puff. And as he starts to get challenged, Tom Steele now has this amazing acceleration. Look at that, like the best days of Cipollini. And Tom Steele gets it.
It was a very, very hard race, a very fast race. We rode the last 100 kilometers in less than 2 hours. They told me that I did the last 200 meters at 73 kilometers an hour, so everybody is motivated, and it's good for us, it's good for the tour, it's good for the future, I think.
It's good for Tom Steele as well, but the overall unchanged Pantani, Julich, Ullrich and Aero, it looks rather familiar now, and the gaps are still there. Bobby Julich hanging on. It could be showdown in the time trial between Julich and Ullrich. So the end of the stage at Neuchâtel, a polka dot jersey for Christophe Renero. He refused to wear it the previous day after the arrest of Rodolfo Massi, who was the leader, but he'll certainly wear it from tomorrow onwards. Tomorrow takes us from this lovely town here, La Chaux-de-Fonds in Switzerland. We head over now to Autun, back in France, 242 kilometres, but we'll do it without the TVM team. They decide to fly directly home to Holland from Switzerland, thus bypassing France and all of the problems that they've had there.
But despite the fact that there has been a lot of problems around the Tour de France, Phil, the crowd's still turning out in the millions to watch these riders go by, and many of these riders now just hoping to get up to Paris and get this Tour de France behind them.
Well, this stage is almost behind them now as this little breakaway is trying to sort things out. Derame is the rider in the mauve-coloured hair for US Postal. And this is a breakaway which has been shaping the race virtually all day. At one stage today it had 17 minutes over the field, and now it's a matter of sorting out the stage win. There are 4 of them left in the action. Dembacke is the rider for Rabobank in second place, and Mazzolini, Eddie Mazzolini is the Seiko rider. The man at the back is the tall blonde rider. He is almost as tall as Eros Poli. That's Magnus Backstedt here, but Derame is trying to win it for US Postal. They've tried hard for a stage win, they haven't got it yet, but now it looks as though Backstedt is going to become the first Swedish rider ever to get a stage. He gets it on the line, so Backstedt is the winner. Tremendous result for the tall Swede from Chris Boardman's GAN team. He came from the back of these 4 riders, and he should be pretty pleased with the way that's gone, Paul.
Certainly did. He waited till the very last moment. He could see this was an uphill drag to the line. He knew anybody who started too soon would crack, and he put his effort in right at the last minute. Very happy with his win.
You did it!
Well, the first win is always the best, and the first win for your country is something really special. But all the favourites now on the eve of the time trial, so Paul Sherwin has taken the opportunity to speak now with Bobby Julich.
Well, Bobby, a fairly standard day the day before a time trial. You happy with the way things went?
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't help for anything more. On a 240K stage, just sitting on the wheels all day, that's always nice. Tomorrow is going to be hard enough, and that's where the race is going to be decided, so no use really getting into any trouble today.
Last year you were 4th on the final time trial, but you didn't have the motivation that you're going to have this time.
That's for sure. I mean, I had motivation, but nothing like that I have now. I mean, I've worked my whole life, my whole career, 13 years of racing my bicycle, waiting for an opportunity like this, and I hope the legs respond.
The top step of the podium seems an awful long way off, but there's a big battle between you and Ullrich. Would you prefer to be second?
Would I prefer to be second? Of course I would prefer to be second. I mean, but just being on the podium, period, is an honor, and to be on the podium with those 2 guys, I don't think you can get much better company, so I'd be quite honored.
Well, good luck to Bobby. Now the time trial is 52 kilometres, only 96 riders left in the race. It's the final time trial of this year's Tour de France. The moment has come when each rider races alone to stake his claim to a high finish on the Champs-Élysées tomorrow. No hiding now, just flat-out effort and hope it's good enough. Overall, Marco Pantani leads the race and will be last to start the time trial. Bobby Julich and Jan Ullrich will be involved in a personal battle to settle second place, while at the same time see if they can catch the Italian. Ulrich is the best time trialist of the three. He took 4 minutes 21 seconds off Pantani and 78 seconds off Julich in the last time trial in this race 2 weeks ago. Julich has never beaten Ulrich in a Tour trial. The American is under no illusions. So the maillot jaune is for Pantani to lose. In June in the Tour of Italy, he produced a great ride in the final time trial. He'll need to do the same again now. Weather conditions are not good. The roads could be slippery and the risk of punctures high for some of the riders. To take the lead off Pantani, Bobby Julich must gain 6.5 seconds per kilometre, while Jan Ullrich needs 6.8. So the pressure all on Jan Ullrich. It's a tall order to ask him to do that. 6.8 seconds a kilometre, even if it is on Marco Pantani, but he's on his way. So Ullrich is now on course and looking like he's going to have to do something very special. At least he can aim for second place overall.
That's the most important thing for him, to go out and prove himself in a time trial at the end of the Tour de France, which has been a very difficult Tour de France for him this year. An interesting point, the rear wheel there, 28 inches, and Bobby Julich looking very relaxed on the starting gate.
He certainly is. He starts now behind Jan Ullrich and in front of Marco Pantani. He has got to pull out something very special indeed now to hold on to second place in the Tour de France. But even that, you know, even third place, Paul, had to be beyond his wildest dreams 3 weeks ago.
Most certainly must have been, because the only other American to have finished on the podium in Paris is Greg LeMond, and he won 3 tours. So Bobby Julich certainly going to be the second best performance ever by an American rider at the Tour.
Worth noting too, over this final week, Greg LeMond is around with a cycling group watching the Tour de France from the saddle. I heard he got lost up Alpe d'Huez the other day. I thought he might have known that route better than most. Anyway, let's stay on the time trial now. It's one-on-one here. Ullrich versus Bobby Julich. These two men racing for second place in Paris. I think it's fair to say that, because I don't think anybody's going to reach Marco Pantani. Not after the confidence booster he got in the Giro d'Italia earlier this year when he came into the time trial. They said Tonkov would beat him and take the pink jersey. Well, nothing could have been further from the truth. He actually did beat Tonkov.
Amazing performance by Pantani on that occasion. It just goes to show how much a leader's jersey can change the morale of a man. But it is a difficult time trial course around here this afternoon, Phil, and these weather conditions will make it much more treacherous than it would have been in the dry.
Well, here's to Teryuk. His Czech times have been very, very good out on the course. He's challenging the best time at the finish of Vyacheslav Yekimov, US Postal. Good return to form for Slava there. But now is Teryuk going to make this a new man on the leaderboard. He's from Kazakhstan, by the way. Both are members of former Iron Curtain Soviet Union. And on the line, Teryuk is just fractionally better.
Just 2 seconds ahead, but this is the man out on the course riding the fastest time so far, and you can see the power of Jan Ullrich on that special machine, based on a machine that in fact came from the track, and it was used by the West Germans in the team pursuit and then drafted across to the road, and they used it very successfully in the team time trial.
Well, these are the legs of Bobby Julich riding, remember, 3 minutes behind Jan Ullrich. And so he'll get the benefit of time checks shouted at him out on the course. I'm not sure you want to hear of them. We're waiting to pick up the first time checks. This is the last man on the course, Pantani. We don't expect him to lead at the time checks, but we don't expect him to lose that 6.8 seconds per kilometre either.
Julich in a very good aerodynamic position. You can see the power that he's got, but the top part of his body rocking a little bit, as opposed to that of Jan Ullrich, which is rock steady and very firm on the machine. Ullrich now in a very large gear. These riders all looking at 54 tooth chainring on the front and an 11 tooth sprocket on the back, and Ullrich riding along here at around about 48 kilometers an hour.
So that's 30 miles an hour for Jan Ullrich, and this is really quite an undulating course here. He pushes it up another gear now. Out on the climb just behind Ullrich is Julich. And Julich looks as though he is riding a pretty good time trial out there now. Let's go to the check at 32 kilometres covered, and this is Bjarne Riis, and he's way off the pace here as he goes through. Only 43rd, Paul, so the injury they say he has must be true.
Certainly is. He's got a very bad tendon behind his knee, and that really has affected his performance this afternoon. But the man now looking at the next time check on the road is number 1, last year's winner. Jan Ullrich goes through there, and I'm fairly sure that shortly we will be told that is the fastest time.
And back to Pantani. He's racing some 6 minutes behind Ulrich rather. Julich is 3 minutes and Samage in between them both. And in fact, Ulrich has gone through with the best time. There's the confirmation, 19:28. Julich 27 seconds slower, and Pantani only 49 seconds lost in the first 16 kilometres.
He's doing a stormer. He really is riding a magnificent time trial. Now the next time check, the time of Jan Ullrich, 31 minutes 49 seconds. Bobby Julich's going to go outside of that, 26 seconds, so he will be losing his second place in the overall standings.
And ironically hanging on to second place in the time trial right now. But look at this, Raniero has been caught now by Jan Ullrich, so he's bridged a 3-minute gap there now. Raniero a little bit inspired by the bypassing there of Jan Ullrich. Pantani also still riding the time trial yet again of his life here in the Tour de France. He's riding third place. The top 3 riders in the Tour de France are setting the best 3 times on the course.
Incredible ride by Pantani, but now we're coming to the part of the course that will suit Bobby Julich, as in fact Marco Pantani taking a few risks there going around 1 or 2 of these corners, but Ullrich using his power. Look at the way he's pedaling now, up around about 100 revolutions per minute, keeping the speed high, while Pantani always accelerating.
Well, at 45 kilometres from covered, 54 seconds was the gap to Bobby Julich, and it's going to be even a little bit more than that now. Baranowski's still the leader on the board. That will all change with the arrival of Jan Ullrich, his 3rd stage win of the Tour for sure now. His time's better than the 2 that remain. Jan Ullrich, though, I don't think is going to claim the leader's yellow jersey, but he should have done enough to claim second place in Paris tomorrow.
You can see how hard he's tried, Phil. He wanted to go out and prove a point today. He wanted to try and ride himself as close as possible to Marco Pantani. He's done enough to get second place in the overall standings, but you know, Bobby Julich has ridden a good time too.
Well, Bobby has given us some great time trials this past 2 years of the Tour de France. This is his second tour, and Julich now is riding to probably the second best time of the day. So if he's going to lose second place overall, he's going to lose it in style. He comes up towards the finish now, 1:4:53 for Bobby Julich, so he has lost second overall. And Marco Pantani, Paul, I think has done enough to win the Tour de France.
He certainly has. Look at this. He's taken the bike that he used in the final time trial of the Tour of Italy this afternoon. And what a magnificent performance. We were calculating how much he had to lose. Well, he hasn't lost very much at all, and he's going to take 3rd place in this time trial.
So Marco Pantani comes to the line, and he comes through in style as well. He'll get the 3rd best time of the day. He will keep his lead in the Tour de France. Yes, it will be reduced, but it won't matter now. I would say the margin he's got now will be the one he will take to Paris. 1:6:27 on the line for Marco Pantani. So he stays in yellow. Jan Ullrich will come up into second place. So there's the face of Marco Pantani, the spray coming off his back wheel. But one of the riders, of course, who did the ride was Bobby Julich. That's the situation in the time trial. Now let's go to Paul Sherwin, who can speak again with Bobby Julich.
Bobby, over the first part of the time trial course, you managed to rival Jan Ullrich, but over the latter parts, you couldn't keep up with him.
I had no idea what the splits were. I told my team car to not tell me anything. So, I don't know, I felt good, but, you know, I knew that you'd have to have a terrific day to beat Jan Ullrich. And I don't know even what place I am in on the stage, but second, so hey. You know, Jan is a terrific athlete and now a good friend. I mean, we had a great time here together. We both suffered bad, but we both supported each other. And, you know, Pantani came out of nowhere and twapped all of us. But I think Jan and I have a long career here in the Tour de France, and it's going to be an honor to be with those 2 guys on the podium.
So there's the situation overall. Pantani, Ullrich, Julich.